And as we look back on a night of NFL preseason action, let's welcome in CBS Sports NFL writer Tyler Sullivan. Tyler, 3 games on the slate on this Friday night. The scoreboard's going to tell us which teams won the games, but the preseason is about a whole lot more than wins and losses. This we know. So who actually came out a winner on this night?
All right, I'll give you 3 winners, 2 of them on the New England Patriots. First and foremost, Ty Montgomery. I think that he needs to start getting a little bit more pump as to what's going on in that Patriots offense. I don't think people realize he is going to have a significant role in what that operation is going to do. And you saw a little bit of that in this preseason game against the Carolina Panthers. I mean, you see that right there. No one is expecting Ty Montgomery to have goal line work in this offense. And while, yes, it's mostly going to go to Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson, the fact that he's showing he can do that at this point brings another piece of versatility to this offense and to this player in particular. We've seen throughout training camp that he is a guy that can be lining up in the backfield, line up as a wide receiver, obviously has some work in the kicking game as well as a returner. That's stuff that's going to endear you to Bill Belichick. What does he like the most? He loves his players to be versatile. And the fact that you have a guy like Ty Montgomery in your offense that you can kind of move around like a chess piece, I think that he's a sleeper candidate to adopt those James White targets. We all point to Ramondre Stevenson as possibly being that guy. He's talked about working as a receiver in the backfield over the course of the offseason. But Montgomery has shown that he can do that in the NFL. And I think that he's someone that is worthy of attention in that spot. The other person on the Patriots that I'm looking at is Matt Patricia. You know, the old saying is, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Well, the Patriots aren't announcing an offensive coordinator, but the fact that he's holding the play sheet, as you can see here, calling in the plays, that leads everybody to assume he is the de facto offensive coordinator. And what was interesting in this game against the Panthers was that he continued to call plays throughout the evening there. It was Mac Jones was out there, he's calling the plays. Whether it's Brian Hoyer or Bailey Zappi, he's there calling the plays. And there were even moments there, too, where Bill Belichick was kind of shadowing him, I think, a little bit more, kind of overseeing the offensive operation. But there were moments where he just kind of let him run, which I think is really interesting to kind of see how that's going to unfold there. I think, no doubt about it, he's going to be the offensive coordinator to begin week 1 and throughout the season there. Mac Jones even kind of alluded to it post-game, that he really trusts him as a football mind, as a football genius, Matt Patricia. So, again, that's one that's going to be interesting there. The last one for me, we'll go in Green Bay. Romeo Doubs, just the summer of Doubs continues. Had a super impressive touchdown grab in this one. That's, to me, what I think is the most interesting thing. He's someone that you more or less think of someone that can stretch the field as a kind of a burner. But you look here, that 50-50 contested type of catch is something that we haven't seen quite yet. I mean, that ability to raise up and bring down a touchdown like that, incontested in the red zone, is what's going to make him an attractive weapon there for Aaron Rodgers once these things start going for real. Obviously, the opportunity is there for him to adopt some of those targets from Davante Adams. And if you can get a guy like Doubs working effectively, not only as a downfield threat, which is kind of what we've primarily seen from him in this offseason, but if all of a sudden he starts to become a red zone threat, I mean, that looks like Davante Adams. That looks like a route that he ran in Green Bay countless times and hauled in many a touchdown. So if all of a sudden he's now a factor in that aspect as well, you can only be excited about his prospects going into the year.
All right, enough of the rainbows and butterflies. The hard truth is that now there's only one game left for a lot of guys to make a positive impression. So who fell short of that on Friday night?
We'll stay in Foxborough here. We'll look on the other side with the Carolina Panthers. They didn't play a lot of their starters in this one. You didn't see Baker Mayfield. You didn't see any really of the main guys. One of them, though, that you did see that's going to be starting in week 1 is first-round pick Ike Ekwonu. And he had a night that you could probably want to forget about. He was solid in the in run protection. He kind of mowed a guy over at one point or another, but he was getting burned in pass protection. You see that there. Josh Uche just flew off the edge and was able to bring down P.J. Walker there. I mean, Josh Uche, he's going to start opposite of Matt Judon, but it's not like we're talking about a perennial all-pro type of talent that's just going to get the better of you. Same thing with Dietrich Watch, who was another one who was able to beat Ekwonu for the sack there. It's not like you're talking about perennial all-pro players where it's just like, you know what, he's super talented, he's going to get those every so often, you're going to get beat. These are just kind of, your average, still very good, but run-of-the-mill players that you're going to be facing every single week. So as much as we're talking about the quarterback battle between Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold, neither one of those quarterbacks are talented enough to overcome bad pressure. So again, that's what you're looking at there with Ike Ekwonu. That needs to improve over the next few weeks there. Probably not in the preseason finale, but as you get closer to the regular season and in practice there. The last one for the Carolina Panthers for me is PJ Walker, veteran quarterback that was playing sparingly, splitting the starts with Matt Corral. He was in the first quarter, he was in the fourth quarter. Just wasn't a good performance from him. Multiple interceptions. He had a fumble in the end zone that was for a touchdown. And when you start looking at, guys like this, when you talk about in the preseason, these veteran players that are not only fighting for a roster spot on their respective club at the moment, but you're talking about trying to make a case for yourself in the NFL anywhere on a roster. And obviously they bring in Matt Corral, who's drafted in the 3rd round. They have Sam Darnold. They have Baker Mayfield. They're not carrying 4 quarterbacks. So Walker seems to be the odd man out here. And when you have a performance like that, multiple interceptions, a fumble in the end zone for a touchdown, you're not really setting yourself up to put good tape together to set yourself up for that next spot somewhere in the NFL. If you're a backup, you need to be trusted that you can handle things if things go awry. And when you're fumbling and committing turnovers in late game, in the preseason against scrubs, it's not something that's really going to be attractive to other teams there. So he's a loser there. And then finally, we'll look at Green Bay. The special teams unit, to me, that's been a huge problem for them over the last few years, and that's been their Achilles heel that's prevented them, I feel, from really going the distance and making legitimate Super Bowl runs. And you saw those warts kind of come up again in this game on Friday night in a couple of situations where there was a punt and there was too many men on the field, then there was too few, and they had a couple of penalties. And so that's what's really concerning. I mean, we look at this game more today than anything as offense and defense, but there is that special teams element, and you saw that last year. That was their Achilles heel that prevented them from advancing in the playoffs. They had that block punt that was returned for a touchdown against the San Francisco 49ers in the divisional round. And so these things do matter towards the end. And so again, when you start to see this come about in the preseason, it does give some concern about what it may translate to in the regular season for Green Bay.
All right, CBS Sports NFL writer Tyler Sullivan with the winners and losers from this night in the NFL. Tyler, thank you so much. Let's recap those winners and also the losers from a 3-game slate in the NFL on a Friday night. And Tyler's got a couple of Pats, Ty Montgomery, the running back for New England, and Matt Patricia, the de facto offensive coordinator / play caller, even though he doesn't have the title officially. Plus Romeo Doubs, the Packers wide receiver. Aaron Rodgers been very much putting some pressure on the young guys catching the ball. Doubs looked pretty good. As for the guys who didn't really show out, Ike Ekwonu, the rookie offensive lineman for the Carolina Panthers, PJ Walker, QB for the Panthers, trying to make the squad, and then the special teams of the Green Bay Packers in general, those Tyler considers losers of the night.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.